to our family. My name is Jen.
My name is Kurt.
And these are our two boys, Lucas and Logan.
And we live full-time in this Ram 3500 Promaster, and it is the extended version, the biggest one they make.
Come on in. We'd love to give you a tour of our home. So when we first bought the van, it was an empty box, meaning Kurt and I had to do everything ourselves. Let's start with some of the details behind the walls that you can't see. We decided to go with 1/4 inch thick tongue and groove cedar planks. Behind that is Havelock wool, and that's fully insulated around the entire van. Up on the ceiling, we've also got tongue and groove ponderosa pine, also insulated with Havelock wool. We had to cut in 3 C.R. Lawrence awning style windows. And the reason that we went with the awning style is because we wanted to be able to open up the windows and still have airflow when it rains. So in this style, it's nice. The water just trickles off of the window and it doesn't come in the van at all. We've got 1 here and then we've got 2 over the bed. We also had to cut in a max air fan. We decided to put that over our kitchen area because we cook a lot and we wanted that to draw out any smoke or fumes from cooking. Another item that we had to install first when we got the van was our additional seating, because when you buy the van, it just comes with the 2 seats up front. We got this additional seating from Friedman Seating Company. They're out of Chicago and Illinois, and it's super easy to put up and down in just 2 simple steps. So when we're driving, it's down, we take the car seats and place them in, and then when we get to camp, we place the seat up, take the car seats out, and store them up in the front seat. So as you can imagine, with 4 of us in here, at times it does get cramped. We were very excited to find this seat as a solution to create more space for our family in here, because when it's up, it's out of the way, it's tucked against the wall, and it opens up our space plenty. Another way that we create space in here is with our swivel seat. So we decided to put a swivel seat on the passenger side. We went with a Scopema Swivel seat. You can find that in the link down in our description below. The first thing after we put the folding seat up is turn this baby around. So with this around and the seat up, it creates a lot of space in here, plenty for the 4 of us. So we decided to go with a swivel seat on the passenger side only. We did not put one on the driver's side for a couple of reasons. Primarily being that we now use the back of the seat here to help organize a lot of the kids' stuff. So I kind of refer to this as their closet. It houses everything from their pencils to books. Inside this big pocket here, we keep some of their schoolwork. Just some of their personal belongings that they can keep it organized, and I keep them responsible, and they know where their stuff is here. And the other reason being that when we're at camp, we have to put the kids' car seats somewhere. So aside from the foldaway seat and the walls, our other first project that we had to tackle in here was our flooring. So let's talk about that for just a brief second. We had to build out our subfloor. We started with 1-inch square aluminum tubing. Then we laid down our Havelock wool in between those studs. And on top of that, we put Advantech plywood. On top of that, we went with a heated flooring strip. Now we designed it that way because we knew this was going to be an all season, a 4-season weathered van. So we could take this van where it's really cold, where it's really hot, and we wanted it to be properly insulated. The heated floor does run on 120 volt, and again, it's designed to be used primarily in the really cold environments. We finished our floor off with luxury vinyl with a cork backing. We went with something that was pretty durable because we knew that there was going to take a lot of beating, a lot of traffic in and out, simple, easy to scrub down, and we didn't want it to show a whole lot of scuff marks. Underneath here, we actually decided to put our heater. This is a Espar 4kW gasoline heater, and I'll be honest with you guys, when it works great, but we've had issues with it at the high altitudes, like above 8,000 feet or so, and it does have the high altitude kit on it. So it's been a little disappointing that it's been temperamental at those high altitudes, because when it shuts down, it just bricks us out of it and we can't operate it. We have to take it to a dealer to service it. So for as much as you pay for those things, you expect them to work, we just have to watch our altitude. It is what it is. Would I buy another one? I don't know. I'd have to really consider that.
All right, so why are we doing this? Why did we decide to sell everything and get into an 80 square foot van? Well, as I've gotten older, I've come to realize that, chasing a dollar isn't everything. Family time is the most important thing, especially with the kids. We're not going to get these days back. Watching them grow, being more part, having more of a influence in their life at a younger age, I think is very important. So what is that worth to you? It's worth a lot to us. That's one of the big reasons
yeah, and
we did this.
I think to maybe fully understand and grasp our story, we kind of have to rewind back to 2006 when we first started dating. Kirt was just in the beginning phases of starting up his own electrical company. So he was working like a hound dog. I barely saw him, and I was finishing up school anyways in college. So I was busy doing schoolwork. He was busy working. When I graduated, we actually moved to East Tennessee, and I started my career as a physical therapist. And then his electrical work kind of slowed down. While he still had some business down in Atlanta, my career was starting to take off. So our roles kind of switched to where I was always the one gone at work. When we fast forward to when our first child was born in 2013, I think we started to realize after that shortly how important it is to be together and be there for those moments. And then our second child was born in 2016, and that just really solidified things. I had a really tough time going back to work. I was being pulled in these two different directions, really three, between being a wife and being a business person, getting my career going, and then being a mom. Oh, and there's a fourth. Let's not forget about me, too. Jen needs time, too. So being at work all day long, not being able to see my family, coming home at 7 o'clock at night, maybe having 2 hours with these guys before I got to go to bed and get up at 4:30 in the morning and do it all over again because I had to be at work at 7 a.m. again the next morning. It just took a toll, and we started to see that things were starting to suffer and fall through the cracks in regards to just all of our relationships together. Another cool little feature that the ProMasters have that unfortunately the Sprinters don't is this overhead storage space. This was actually the perfect size for us to store a lot of our window covers. So these go up here when we're riding, and we also are able to fit our awning crank out there. So up in this corner here, Kirt built a cubby / charging station. This is really cool because it gets our camera equipment and our cords and cables out of the way. So one thing that we frequently grab are our cameras. We don't have to worry about them getting in the way or getting damaged. We know they're up here. The kids can't reach them. We have 2 USB charging ports here as well. So anything with a battery, we basically just plug it in and set it right in here. These hammocks are also a nice way to help keep some of our cords organized and up out of the way. We found these on Amazon, and just so you guys know, if there's anything you see in our build, you can actually shop our van. We have a link to all of the things that we found on Amazon down below in the description, so check that out. Welcome to our kitchen. This is perhaps my favorite part of the van because this is where I spend most of my time. I do all the cooking in the family, just like Kirt does all the driving primarily and all the fixing and whatnot. We each have our separate roles. We work well as a team. We have our strengths and weaknesses, and we recognize what those are. So let's talk about the countertop for just a second. This thing was a labor of love. It is a do-it-yourself epoxy pour, and Kirt and I did the whole things ourselves back home in Tennessee in our garage. So the wood is it was a single piece of black walnut. We cut down the middle and then turned the live edge on the inside. So we had to pour the epoxy down the middle, and we colored it what it is now that you see. It took forever, and there are some imperfections in it. I think we probably shed a tear or two of joy when it was done because it was very time consuming, a little bit stressful. So we were super happy with the way it turned out. And, it just makes cooking that much more fun when you have something beautiful to look at. through our overlanding adventures, we had come to see that people do this full time. We really had no idea.
I had no idea that you could do this full time, and you can actually, there's opportunities doing this lifestyle and making money as well. And then the whole material things too. Do we need these things? Why are we working so hard to have this nice home, nice piece of property? Do we need, what do we need to make us happy? And then so basically I felt like I was a slave to my things.
Yeah.
And we had to do something different to break that and just be in a happier state.
We decided to pull the trigger and buy the van, build the van out, list our house for sale, quit my job. We sold our cars, and we said sayonara to traditional society as we know it. And we haven't looked back, and we don't regret it. Home is where the heart is, and it's with the people that you are with, and it's where you park it. Different spot every night. So here's our sink, and we went with a pop out to maximize countertop space. So when we need the sink, we just pull it out and it acts as a cutting board, and we just place it on top here. So we have a electric water pump that is always on. We don't have to turn it on and off. So water is always on demand as we need it. We have a 50-gallon water tank, and we also have a 5-gallon water heater. Our sink is kind of special to me. I know that sounds really odd to say about a sink, but there's a little history behind that. At home in Tennessee, when we were remodeling our house, I had found a copper basin sink just like this one, only it was about 3 times as big. So when I found this one, again on Amazon, I was thrilled. I said, we gotta have it, we gotta put it in the van. So every time I'm looking down, it kind of reminds me a little bit of where we came from. It's like a little grounding, just reminds us of home back in Tennessee where we started. So my second favorite feature in the kitchen here is my produce basket. I love to cook, and I love to use fresh ingredients. So this is a great way to have all your produce out in the open. You don't have to dig through your pantry to get it. I frequent these things all the time. I also requested that Kirt build me a spice rack, again, because with cooking, I'm frequently grabbing these things. So this is a great way to help keep the spices out of the pantry. Easy to find, easy to access. I can see what I have, and it makes it easy to cook. So our van is all electric. I primarily cook on our induction cooktop. I also use the Instapot quite a bit, and then if available, and this is always my preferred method, is if we have a campfire available to cook over with a cast iron, that's definitely the preferred method. But that's not always available. So when we're ready to cook, we have to turn our inverter on, which is this switch here. We have 2 120-volt plugs here in the kitchen, and we've also got one under the bed as well. I'll let Kirt go over the ins and outs of the electrical system since that's his specialty. All of our overhead cabinets are on gas struts with soft closing hinges. We even added a magnetic strip to help keep this closed so that it doesn't come open when we're driving. And here's where I store some of our breads and big produce that won't fit in my basket, or big bottles. I've got oils in here as well. Another thing that Kirt designed specifically for our overhead cabinets as well was this lip that we have right here. And that helps from keeping things to shuffle about when we're driving. Baskets are another great way to help keep things from shifting and tipping over or whatnot, so that when you open your pantry, things don't fly out at you. So here is our pantry. It's deceiving. It's a lot bigger than it looks. One thing that I thought was genius when Kirt designed this was he took some commonly used things at home and he built the shelves around these items. So we knew they were going to fit, and we had an approximate idea of what was going to go where. This is super deep too, so I can fit a ton of food in here. So our other food storage is down here in our fridge. So we have a 75-liter Dometic dual zone I keep one side as the fridge and the other side as the freezer. Now when this thing is fully loaded down, it's heavy. It can weigh upwards to 125 pounds or so. We originally put these plastic push locks on there, but it turned out that wasn't enough to keep this big drawer from shifting around when we're driving down bumpy roads or whatnot. So it turned out this one actually broke. We had to replace that, and we added a little bit of reinforcement and put a slide lock down there. And ever since we added that, it's been fine. We haven't had any issues. So one other thing to point out about our locks here, we decided to go with something that was really sleek because, again, in a confined space, it's easy to get hung up on things or bump things that if it was a fixed handle. So we didn't want to catch a leg or a pant leg or rip our clothing or whatnot, which is why we wanted these push locks that were very flush, and we went with these leather straps as well.
Alright, so I find this question pretty interesting. A lot of people ask what are the pros and cons of living this lifestyle on the road. And for me personally, I can't really think of any cons. It's all pros because we're just in a better mental health. I get to hang out with my family every day. There's a lot of grateful things. Now sure, we're in a smaller spot, but that doesn't personally bother me. We just open the door and go outside and we got plenty of space, and we can move. So we got, we can, if we don't like the weather, if it's too hot or too cold, we move, we change those things. Like dealing with HOAs back when we were in Atlanta, you don't have to deal with any of that. I don't like mowing the grass. I don't like the humidity. I don't like allergies. I have allergies. I don't like all the pollen and stuff. So I can move around and get around that for the most part. So as far as any negatives on my part,
well, somebody said this to us a little bit ago, and it kind of resonated with me because I found this to be true as we travel. I find more about myself. He said there's really no cons about traveling because even the cons turn into pros. For example, you learn to problem solve. So we've got to find fresh water sources everywhere we go. We've got to find campsites everywhere we go. And you got to sustain yourself, right? So we've had to struggle sometimes finding campsites. And I think what we've learned is to go with the flow sometimes because it doesn't always work out on your first try.
But I'm used to that from running a business. So all those sort of problems for me that's normal life. That's what I'm used to.
How you deal with conflict though, when you think things are going to go one way and they go another way, that's again
business, yeah.
Well, you're constantly working on yourself, and so just your reaction to situations. Like, for example, when our van got damaged at the dealership from a simple oil change, they didn't put the van up on the lift properly, and it dented our rocker panels. We had no control over that. We put our van in trusted professionals, and they still made a mistake, and they didn't tell us about it afterwards. We could have really blown up at it. Really, Kirt 10 years ago probably would have handled it a lot differently. So, those types of curveballs that get thrown at you, you learn to just kind of go with the flow. And you don't have the rigid structure from day to day, working that 9 to 5, have to get up and go to the office every day to weigh you down either, right? So there's a little bit more flexibility for those curveballs in life and for you to really analyze the situation and make the best of it. So this big drawer here is where we keep not only our plates and bowls, but it also serves as kind of our bathroom cabinet as well. One cool thing that we found is placing things in this little caddy helps keep stuff organized and keeps it from shuffling around. But also, if we are going to go stay anywhere other than our van for the night, like a friend's house or a hotel, we just pick it up, take it with us. It's all here, easy peasy. This drawer is for utensils. And this drawer is where we store a few extra cups and cooking utensils as well. So before we even built out our drawers here, we had a pretty good idea of what was going to go in there. For example, we have our blender in here and our Instapot down here. So everything fits nice and neat in these drawers. And one tip I might pass on to those who are looking to do something like this is kind of roughly lay out what big equipment or big items you want to put in your van and design your drawer around them. That way you know it's going to fit. So here is our bench seating, and it actually doubles as our kids' bed as well. These are 3-inch high-density foam mattress pads or cushions, and they are covered in a marine vinyl material. Super easy to clean, and they're very durable too, so they're very scratch resistant. To make the beds, it's a simple process. We didn't really want it too complicated, and we didn't want a whole lot of mechanical parts that move, so we kept it very simple. These cushions are held in place by buttons, so when we're ready to make the bed, we just unbutton the top one, and it actually comes off, and we put it on the floor, and we cover both of these in blankets and sheets. So one child sleeps up on top here, and the other child is on the ground with plenty of cushion. Underneath our bench, we have more storage. These are the kids' closets, and this big one here is a little bit more storage. Again, like I was mentioning, we knew what we were going to bring with us, so this is where we keep a lot of our camera gear. We needed a big drawer to help keep that not only organized, but make sure that everything fit as well. Inevitably, no matter what size your home is, it seems like there's always space for a junk drawer, which is right here. We never really intended this space to be used as such. I thought the kids' school books were going to go in here, but they just didn't fit after we decided, you know what, we have a little bit of extra stuff. I don't know where to put it. So we've got everything from like a little first aid kit to some crafts and candles for birthdays and just some extra clips and stuff for around the van. So voila, there's our junk drawer. We have additional storage overhead here as well. And one thing I'd like to mention about the cabinet fronts is this is actually a special kind of wood that came from my uncle, as well as our countertop. And it's another one of those things that's a little sentimental to me because it reminds us where we come from and those that support us along our journey. This is a beech wood, and we knew at some point in our van, we weren't exactly sure where we wanted to incorporate it, but we wanted a live edge, whether that was going to be on our cabinets or on our countertop. It just so happened it worked out here. So this was another project that we did on our own, and super thrilled with how it turned out. So this one here is where we store some extra sheets and blankets for the kids. We've got towels. We've also got our little library over here. One thing that we found is really neat as we travel throughout the country is that there are free little libraries all over the place, particularly near schools and playgrounds. So the kids have kind of their selection of books here, and once we get done with them and we read them, they just go and find the ones that they like. We take one, we leave one. So it's a great way to help keep those things fresh and changed out and keep them engaged. And then in this one is where I keep a few extra just personal items, some workout clothing, and a few extra books for the kids that are too big to fit otherwise. So we've also got a Lagun table mount down right over here. Pretty simple to put together. And as you can see, our tabletop is another epoxy project. This is also black walnut. It came from the same place that our other wood did, which is my uncle's place. So thank you, Steve. Really appreciate you. The cool thing about the Lagun table mounts is that they swivel all different directions. So this is a great way to eat dinner up here as a family, or if we have to work on the computer or do any schoolwork, we do it right here. And it also swivels right over the bench. So if we need to get by, get out of the way, or get into these drawers, or store it out of the way temporarily, that's where it goes. When we're not using it all together, it comes apart pretty easily. We take the whole tabletop, and that also gets stored in our overhead space. So we also put another second Lagun table mount outside here as well. We did that primarily so that we could cook outside when the weather's nice as well. Don't always want to be confined inside. It also serves as a nice place just to set down some drinks or a tabletop to do whatever and be outside. We've also got some switches here. One is our cabin lights and the other is actually a floodlight that we have right out here. So when it's starting to get dark at night, we can turn that on, gives us some light. But also if we hear a strange noise or we're not quite sure if there's something out there we should be concerned about, we have a switch here, we can turn that on. There's also one by our bed as well. Also put in another USB charging port on the outside. Comes in handy when you need to charge your phone and you're outside. We've also got another one right up here as well. Don't get me wrong, there are sacrifices when you're living tiny. Obviously, space is the biggest one of those. You have to constantly plan things out, which I don't really see as a negative. Some people get planning fatigue because you're constantly trying to find what your next move is going to be. Yeah, and for those that are traveling solo or looking to do this on their own too, you know, you got to be comfortable by yourself because there is a lot of downtime, a lot of time traveling, getting from one place to the next, so you might not always have a companion. I think that's why a lot of people travel with dogs, aside from like having the safety net of a dog, a guard dog if you will. But it might be a good challenge too to really find your inner self and do some inner work to yourself.
So over here is our trusty composting toilet that we love. This is the Airhead, the other is the Nature's Head. Okay? The benefits that we found on the Airhead is when you pee, do number one in here, since we have two boys, you can pee anywhere in here and the liquids drain into the front container. On a Nature's Head, it has a little area in the front that you have to aim and pee into to get the liquids into the front. If not, we call it the trap door. So you open the door here for number two, and if you get liquids in there, then that gets into your composting, into your number two, and that's a no-no. So that's one big factor why we went with Airhead.
So here's our bed. Sleep is quite important to us, so we decided to get a thicker mattress for Kirt and I. As we get older, we realize how important a good night's rest is. So we actually went with a custom size 6-inch high density foam mattress. And on top of it, we actually put a few extra pillow toppers just to make it a little bit more soft because it was quite firm the way it was. It's bigger than a full, but smaller than a queen. However, queen size sheets with deep pockets fit it perfectly. Underneath the bed, we went with wooden slats. We did that primarily for airflow. We didn't want any problems with mildew. And we've also got our battery bank under our feet, and that needs proper airflow to stay cool as well. At the head and the foot of our bed, we have our two other C.R. Lawrence awning style windows. We open both of those up at night quite often. It creates a nice cross breeze. If that's not enough, we have a marine style swivel fan here. We can turn that on and the max air fan, and usually that's enough to keep us cool at night. Over our feet, we have a his and her closet. I kind of have two closets if you saw earlier. This one, and then of course the one above our bench seating as well. And underneath there we went with another hammock. This helps keeps our jackets and just more bulky things out of the way like sweatshirts and whatnot. Over here in the corner we tend to store a few extra pillows and blankets, and those are primarily for the kids. They're an easy reach. They're tucked up out of the way when we're moving or we're out for the day, so keeps them tidy. I'll say one other thing, and I didn't see this coming. The more that we travel and the more things that we get to see, it's almost like this inverse relationship between the wow factor and how long we've been on the road. So for example, the longer we've been on the road and the more beautiful, awesome places that we get to see, it's like the wow factor almost declines. And I feel bad for saying this, because I'm not ungrateful by any means, but I feel like it's getting harder and harder to impress me with each new amazing place we go to. I'm afraid that wow factor is gonna diminish. Maybe when it does, that's time for us to settle down somewhere. I don't know. We don't see ourselves settling down anytime soon. So we'll go at this lifestyle for as long as we feel like we can handle it, and as long as the boys are doing well and enjoy it and don't hate us for it.
Yeah, as long as it makes sense, we'll continue to do this.
So there you go, pros and cons.
All right, y'all. I want to thank my wife for doing such an amazing job of showing you guys around the inside of the van. Now it's up to me to show you around the outside, and we will get into the meat and potatoes of the van. So out here we have a nomadic legless awning, which is absolutely amazing. How I found out about this awning was on YouTube. They had an awesome video that showed this awning with about 2 or 3 other awnings and a wind test. And this thing survived, none of the rest did. We went and upgraded rims and tires, so we saved some weight by going with the aluminum rim. We went up 1 tire size to give us a little bit more clearance. As far as suspension modifications, we went with the sumo springs. So on the back, they're basically pucks that replace your bump stop. So those are in the back, and then on the front they have a rubber mount that goes in between your coil spring to just help stiffen it up and keeps it from swaying when you're driving or walking around inside. And I think that's it out here. Let's move around back and we'll go over things back there. All right, y'all, now around to the back. One of my favorite parts is this cool swing arm system that I came up with. I had a buddy around the corner from us named Randy, and he put this whole design together, got it out of my head, and actually got it built. And this thing has been an absolute game changer for us. Let me talk a little bit about this box right here. We actually had 2 of these boxes made for us. This is one of the few things, or I think the only thing actually on the van that we didn't do. It keeps a lot of our dirty things outside, our smelly things. So we got shoes, we keep our chairs back here. We're actually leveled up, as you noticed before, we're leveled up on traction boards. Those go in here. We have water hose to fill up water. We have a water sprayer that we use for our shower, bucket, shovels, got squeegee in here for the solar panels to wash them off. Now let's go over to the other box and check it out. So in order to save some weight, we scrapped, we had an identical box like this on this side. We ended up scrapping it, and we went to our local Tractor Supply and picked up this tough box. And this thing's been great. It's light, it works. We have our wood stove in here. We have a campfire, portable campfire in here. I think a couple boots, miscellaneous grilling stuff is in here. So same thing, dirty, smelly stuff that you wouldn't want inside the van. Up here is our dirty clothes. Fortunately, no one has stolen our dirty clothes. So, and I'd imagine if somebody looked into this box and said, "Oh, it's just a box of dirty clothes," I think we'll be all right. But love this, simple. It's usually strapped down. It's not right now, but we'll unstrap this thing. We will roll it into the laundromat. We will do our laundry, put it back up, and go from there. All right, my favorite part, the meat and potatoes of the van. This is our garage. This is storage. We got some extra sleeping bags. We got thermarest. We got toilet paper. We got paper towels back here. We have a net for the back in case we want to have the doors open with a nice breeze and keep the bugs out. Luke wanted a bike, but ended up settling on a 1-wheel, so that's pretty cool. He has a blast riding around in the 1-wheel. This is our shower right here. Let me come over here. So this is a privacy tent or shower tent that we use. We have a outlet right here, a water outlet for us to take a shower out back. If it's pretty private like here, we won't use this at all. If there's people around, then we'll pull the tent out. I have a couple of valves under there to get the water just right. And like the wife mentioned earlier, we have an ISO temp 5.3 gallon electric water heater. And it does great with our, we have 3 lithium Battle-Born batteries, and each of those are 100 amp hours. So we have 300 amp hours of power. And to convert the power from 12 volts to 120, we went with the Victron Multi-Plus 3000. We actually love Victron products. They've worked out very well for us. And we have a few ways we charge our batteries. One is through the Victron. It is actually an inverter charger. So we have a plug back here that we stick a cord in, which we never do. We hardly ever plug up the van for shore power. The second way that we charge is the DC to DC charger, and that is a red arc, and it's a 50 amp. So while we're driving, it charges the batteries. And then our third means of charging is solar. So we have 525 watts of solar. And I'm actually going to do a video, if it's out when you're watching this, there'll be a link up above to kind of help people gauge if how much power do you need, right? How did I know how many batteries I needed? How did I know how much solar I needed? Things like that. I want to dive into that because I've searched YouTube up and down, and it's very hard to find. So being a master electrician, I wrote down our usage, blah, blah, blah. We will get in that in another video. I got a 120 volt panel here that comes out of the Victron, and that distributes the power, the 120 power throughout the van. We have 12 volt switches here and fuses that control the 12 volt system in the van. Let's see, what else do we got? We got water. Water is extremely important because we're on the road and we're getting water from multiple sources. We wanted to make sure our water was clean. So we went with a clear source water system. We went with a 3-part plus an additional 4th canister to make sure the water was extra clean. So what we do is we hook a hose up to here. It helps if it's pressurized. If not, we have a pump in that big bin that we can actually pump water into here. You actually need pressure, water pressure, for it to go through the filters to work properly. So we have a 3 canister filter system that when we hook the hose up, filters these 3 canisters into our 50 gallon tank. And then out of there, we have another single canister that we filter the water again before it goes to the faucets. We just got a couple other drawers here that have miscellaneous tools and stuff, cordless drills and things like that in there. So I think that sums up the meat and potatoes. This next question, go ahead, you start off.
Okay, so what's next for us? What's next for our family of 4? Well, if any of you have been peeping on our Instagram lately, you might have seen us post something about a new project coming up soon. So while we absolutely love Big Red here, and it has served our family of 4 incredibly well, we have decided to purchase something a little bit bigger for our family as we continue to grow in size, not child size, additional child, like physical size. Our kids aren't getting any smaller. We decided to purchase a Ram 5500, and we're going to put a box on the back and build us out a box truck, which means we will have to put Big Red up for sale, which will be super bittersweet because there's a lot of blood, sweat, tears that we poured into this thing. And our main reason for doing so is we don't see ourselves settling down anytime soon. We're enjoying this way too much. So as our kids get bigger, in order to accommodate them and give us all a little bit more space and be more comfortable in traveling long term, the box truck is going to check all of our boxes on that one. Plus, it's 4-wheel drive, and there's more payload, so we can carry more toys with us. And I think it's going to be a pretty rad setup. So y'all be sure to tune into that, because we're going to hopefully have the truck with the box on it in our possession by the end of this year or the beginning of January next year. We will document that on our YouTube channel as we build it out. Kirt thinks he can do it in 30 days. So it's pretty ambitious. What might be the limiting factor is making sure that we get all the materials and nothing's on back order. But that's going to be super exciting. We're really looking forward to it. You guys should be seeing this video sometime around Thanksgiving. Spread the word. If you're looking for a van, this one will serve a solo, a couple, or even a family incredibly well. I really don't want to have to say goodbye to it, but it just doesn't make sense for us to hold on to it. We can't. So be on the lookout for further announcements regarding for sale. That's going to wrap up our van tour video. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys have any questions about something that maybe we didn't touch on, or you want us to go further in depth, please leave us a comment down below. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Remember, you can shop our van too. We'll leave that link down in the description. Shop our van on Amazon. And I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as we enjoyed showing you around. We'll see you guys on the next video.
Please like and subscribe and hit the bell.
You heard the man.
Perfect.